All right, I'm going to read one of these in sickness essays, these journals. They're like diary entries, kind of like Dear Diary, about health loss, dealing with pain, dealing with suffering, going to medical appointments, conversations with physicians, pharmacy appointments. And this one is about conversations with the public, people, just having conversations with people who aren't suffering, people who don't have chronic illness or don't quite understand it because people don't know how to have these conversations and they say really insensitive things and they think they're being compassionate. The ignorance is hurtful, but you forgive it because they just don't know any better. And there's most things in life I don't know any better about, but I know a lot about illness because this essay I wrote 7 years ago. Tomorrow, I just pulled it up and looked at the date. It'll be 7 years tomorrow to the day when I wrote this. So I've been dealing with this for a really long time. I get how dealing with illness works. I get how these conversations go. So this is something I know closer than intimately. But what made me think of it, what made me want to give it a voice, because I've never read this before. I posted it online years and years ago, but I never recorded it. And so what inspired me to do that today was a conversation I had yesterday with a friend of mine who is among the most compassionate people I know and have ever known. He's always putting other people's emotions and reputations and everything before his own. And we're involved in this project. I'm the lead. He's my number two. And there are issues going on where people are just dropping balls and it's going to cause a lot of problems. And we need to address it before it just gets out of hand and before too much turmoil. And so I was stern, talking to my friend, and like, here's what needs to happen. I was sterner than stern, right? I was more than prickly, and in saying we need to lay down a law here that's absolute. We can't be friendly about it. I mean, we have to be strict. Um, and I said, say it's coming from me. Because it doesn't have to be my mouth that's making the noises that establish the laws and hold people accountable. My mouth doesn't have to do the talking. But I said, will you address this for me and say it's coming from me? And this moment of obvious compassion, right? Because this is consistent with his character, is looking out for the interests of others. So in this case, he was looking out for my interest. He doesn't want there to be, an emotional campaign against me. He doesn't want there to be, a turmoil that I have to deal with or to tarnish my reputation, any of these things. And so he said, I really don't want to throw you under the bus here. And that theme is something that I'm going to be talking about today in the exact opposite, perspective of the way that he used it. He used it of like, I don't want you to get wounded. But what I said was like, no, put me in front of the, I'm not being thrown under a bus. I am standing in front of a bus that shouldn't be on that road, right? That bus should not be driving this direction. I'm going to stand in front of it and I'll be fine, right? The bus, we will collide. That bus will hit me and I won't get a scratch. I'll be fine. The people on the bus, there's one person driving it and a couple of passengers. There'll be some minor scrapes and they'll be the better for it. I said something like that yesterday, and then we moved forward and everything's kind of resolved. But the way that line was deployed was compassionately. And so what I'm going to talk about today, now I'll pull it up, is the opposite of that, using a bus in a really insulting way. So let's read it. This. In sickness, February 18th, 2017, so long ago. Anyone could be insulted by a bus. For most people, life goes well for a while, starts to go badly, and then it ends very badly. Between the descent and the end, the ailing folks will hear a lot of sympathetic sentences like these. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna come through this even stronger. Everything happens for a reason. None of those should be said. But the worst of all, the single most insensitive attempt at consolation is this. Anyone could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm still pretty new to illness, and I've already lost count of the number of times I've been belittled by the bus cliché. Consider this conversation, which repeats every time I permit it the tiniest opportunity. I woke up this morning with even more symptoms. I don't know what to do. I'm really scared. Will you take me to the hospital? Sure, I can take you when I get off work. I think it's going to be okay. So, there's no reason to be scared. Well, I mean, I have a mystery illness that's issuing more and more pain while revoking more and more physical function. Tomorrow is always worse than yesterday, always. And nobody has any idea how to stop it. That doesn't mean you have to be scared, though, because like anyone could get hit by a bus tomorrow. So there's no reason to stop enjoying your life. How many of those people can hear the screeching tires? What? I was just saying I'll find another ride to the hospital. Thanks, though. And then I call someone else. The first time someone had the ignorance and impudence to tomorrow bus me, I argued. Instead of going to the hospital, I stood there and explained that his dismissive sentence ignores the probability and imminence of disaster while simultaneously stripping the sufferer's claim to suffering. It's a shitty thing that only shitty people say, so don't say that shit again. And then I went to the hospital. The second time it happened, I was irritated that my previous explanation didn't provide any future protection against this assault. Why is it always a bus? I asked. And why is it always tomorrow? I interrupted because I didn't care what the answer was to my first question. On the way to the hospital, I explained what makes this so insulting, lack of originality aside, by rearranging the narrative. You're at home. It's late in the evening, midwinter, so it's pretty cold outside. But you have the heat turned up irresponsibly high. And you just finished eating a warm dinner, so your cozy index is at its max. Unless a little cherub were sitting in the corner playing a harp, there's nothing that could make this moment more tranquil. But as you're loading your dinnerware into the dishwasher, you feel a cold breeze on the back of your neck. I mean, really cold, like a window was left open. You look behind you and see it. The open window, the very open window. It's so open that you could climb right through it. Weird. You walk over and shut it, wondering how long it had been open. And then you get back to the dishes. That's when the toast pops up in the toaster, which you hadn't put any bread in. You dart your eyes around the room, not sure what you're looking for until you see it. There is a man standing in the pantry. In his hand is a meat cleaver, and in his face is an expression so disturbed there is no human emotion you can associate with it. Your inner cherub flees along with your breath and your sense, and your knees buckle, but you retain enough flight in your reaction to race out of the kitchen, up the stairs, into your bedroom, and into your closet. That was the decision your body made for you while you were too panicked to make one for yourself. Now you're stuck in your closet trying to breathe as quietly as possible, hoping he won't find you. Luckily, you have your phone in your pocket. You pull it out and with trembling hands begin to dial 911. From the stairwell, you hear fee, fi, fo, fum. Ready or not, here I come. Punctuated with some crackling. The stairs creak one at a time. Then the stairs finish creaking and the killer's footsteps arrive in the hallway. As he walks the corridor toward your bedroom, his cleaver is scraping against the wall. It's getting closer and closer. At this point, you've stopped breathing altogether. Now you're just shaking. The panic has completely overtaken you. Your heartbeat is audible. It's going to give away your location. That's when the 911 operator answers. The vibrato of your whisper betrays your tremor. There's a murder in my house. The operator responds, that doesn't mean you have to be scared. I mean, like anyone could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Obviously, this is among the most insulting sentences anyone can say to the suffering, the distraught, the terrified. There is no situation in which that sentence has been anything but disrespectful. Here's another. Your plane is crashing now. You're sitting in coach, looking out of a tiny oval window at the spinning world, racing toward it. Luggage is shooting out of the overhead compartments. Loud beeping is coming from the cockpit. The flight attendant gets on the PA and says, Or your shoelace is caught in a manhole cover. A bus is racing towards you. As I jog past, headed towards safety, I look over my shoulder and shout, anyone could. Bam! You're hit and killed. I come to your funeral. For some reason, I'm giving the eulogy. We've lost a loved one today, but there's no reason to be upset. Any one of us could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I might as well cackle and scrape my meat cleaver against the coffin. That's it. That's it for today's. I didn't really remember it all that well. I kind of like it. Having read this tomorrow again, it'll be 7 years since I've written it, and in those 7 years, I can't tell you the number of times I've been insulted by a bus. But yesterday, I was complimented by one. So thank you, that person, and no thank you for the future for everyone else. Okay.